accomplished you can be. With more than 140 majors and minors to choose from, you'll find ways to combine your interests and passions with academic programs in a way that is uniquely yours. Our highly respected faculty are totally invested in your intellectual growth and personal development. They'll be mentors and guides while you're at the college, and their commitment to your success will continue after you graduate as well. Internships, undergraduate research, and study abroad are key components of the College of Charleston experience. Put what you learn into practice today and open doors to your future. With a College of Charleston education, you'll be ready to create, communicate, innovate, and adapt. And you'll be prepared to take on the world.
Good evening, and welcome to the Cougars in the Classroom virtual faculty panel event tonight with the College of Charleston. My name is Devin Thompson. I'm with the Visitor Services team here in the Office of Admissions, and on behalf of my colleagues and the campus partners, professors joining us this evening, we just thank you so much for your interest in learning more about the College of Charleston, particularly from the academic side. We're thrilled you're considering CofC in your college search and application process, and we hope tonight's event is going to answer a lot of the questions you have about what college life, in the classroom from the standpoint of experiential learning, research, all of these components look like for our students. During tonight's event, we're going to hear from an esteemed group of faculty panelists regarding their experiences teaching and mentoring students here at CofC. Now, if you have any questions during the live event that we don't address with our panelists, please feel free to drop them in the chat. If we do have time at the end, we'll take live questions, but if not, we'll make sure that they get answered one way or the other. And if you have any admissions related questions, you can also put those in the chat as well. We have counselors monitoring that portion also. And just a reminder, if you're just tuning in, I dropped a link in the chat earlier to an optional attendance survey. So please make sure to fill that out if you're interested, and you will be entered into a raffle for logging in tonight. But with that, I'd like to now introduce you all to a very special member of our team, our Dean of Admissions, Kayla Granville. Kayla?
Thank you, Devin. Greetings and welcome to the Cougars in the Classroom virtual faculty panel session. My name again is Kayla Granville, and I have the pleasure of serving the College of Charleston as the new Dean of Admissions. We are so excited to have you join us virtually tonight. The College of Charleston offers numerous academic programs and student support resources to prepare students for opportunities not yet imagined. Whether it's marine biology, systems engineering, or international studies, students can explore and be prepared for the careers of tomorrow. Our faculty are some of the brightest minds in their respective fields. They are researchers, teachers, doers, and mentors to every student who graces the halls of this campus. They see themselves as student-centered, connecting students to opportunities in and out of the classroom. Our faculty are truly rock stars, and I doubt you will meet faculty as supportive and educated as those who call the College of Charleston home. I want to thank Devin and all of our amazing faculty for creating this event for students and families. And should you have any additional questions about the College of Charleston and the resources shared tonight, please connect with these faculty members and certainly any member of the admissions team. And now I'm going to turn it back over to Devin. Thank you.
Thank you, Kayla. Well, let's get started with the main event. I'd now like to introduce everyone to Lee Meadows McAlpin. She's our Assistant Director of Visitor Services and Volunteer Outreach here in the Office of Admissions, and she will be moderating tonight's panel. Lee?
Thank you so much, Devin. I'm excited to be here with all of you tonight, and I'm especially excited to introduce to you each of our faculty panelists. We have an amazing group of faculty who are all very student focused, and I hope that you will learn a lot more about them and all that they have to offer you as a student here at the College of Charleston, should you choose to come here. I'm going to kick things off by asking the faculty to introduce themselves. So if we can just kind of go around real quickly, and Dr. France, would you mind leading us off? Just a brief introduction of your title and department.
My name is Hollis France, and I am the chair of the Political Science Department here.
Thank you. Dr. Ganaway?
Hi, everyone. My name is Brian Ganaway. I'm the Associate Dean of the Honors College, and I'm a faculty member of the International Studies program.
Thank you. Dr. Van Delden?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sebastian Van Delden, Dean of the School of Sciences and Mathematics, which also includes engineering, and also a professor of computer science.
Thank you so much. Dr. James?
Yes, I'm Anthony James. I'm the Director of Minority Education and Outreach here at the college.
Thank you very much. Dr. Greenberg?
Hi, I'm Dan Greenberg. I'm Chair of the Department of Psychology.
Thank you so much. Okay, Dr. DeLaurel, excuse me. Oh, you're muted.
First techno problem. Hello, future Cougars. I'm a professor of business law in the School of Business and teach both at the undergraduate and graduate level.
Okay, thank you. I think that rounds everyone out. So we're going to head right into some of the questions that we have for each of you. Our first question of the evening is, what attracted you to teach at the College of Charleston? Dr. Greenberg, would you mind leading us off with this question?
Sure. So I have to admit that this is not where I expected to be. I'm originally from the Northeast, and I expected that that's where I would end up. And when I came down here to interview, I noticed a couple of things. One was that people seemed really happy here, and there's no substitute for that. And it's very different from a lot of other places where, you know, people aren't happy, or the professors aren't happy, or the students aren't happy. People generally seemed happy, and it stood out. Second, and on a more academic level, I noticed that people were deeply committed to teaching, as I was. They thought about, that's what they thought about, that's what they talked about, that's what they wanted to know more about, that was their primary focus. And it was very different from places I'd been, big universities, where teaching was seen as, you know, an inconvenience or something you didn't want to spend too much time on. I knew I couldn't live like that. I wanted to be in a place where when I was teaching, that was what was valued. And although I'd always thought I'd end up at a smaller place, I realized that the college is in a sweet spot in higher education. We're big enough that we can offer so many different majors and minors, so many different courses that I never got to take as an undergrad. We have that breadth, and yet we're small enough that we're not teaching those gigantic lecture classes with, you know, 500 people. We don't do that. Most of our classes in my department of psychology are capped at, you know, about 35 students, and at the upper level, it's smaller. And the mix of all of those three things is really what made me decide to come here, and what's made me happy to be here for the last 10 years.
It's amazing. That's great to hear. Thank you. Dr. James, would you like to add to this question?
Yes, so my journey actually started when I was a student here. I earned my master's degree from the College of Charleston, and during that time, I had such amazing professors who went over and beyond the call of duty to make sure that I had everything I needed. And then once I graduated, I would always come back to the college to visit my dean and other professors. They always remembered my name. After I earned my doctorate, I had a chance to come back as a staff member here. It was just like a dream come true. And now my life has really come full circle, because now I'm trying to offer those same benefits to the students that I serve. So again, my journey started as a student. Again, like he said, the small class sizes were amazing. It's such an intimate feel. It's a family environment, and that's the thing that I really enjoyed the most. And I often joke that I have degrees from 4 different places, but College of Charleston is always home because of the relationships that I have with the faculty and staff members here.
That's awesome. 2 very different journeys led you here, and both of you, and really interesting to hear your response to that question. Thank you. Second question is, how would you describe the liberal arts curriculum at the College of Charleston and the advantages that it offers? Dr. Ganaway, would you mind?
Hi, students and parents. So as concisely as I can put it, so liberal arts and sciences education for me is critically engaging with problems in the world and coming up with solutions. So if you look at my faculty colleagues, we're from very diverse backgrounds. Professor DeLaurel is critically engaging with the world in business. Dean Van Delden is critically engaged with the world in the sciences. Professor France is critically engaged with the world in political science, and I'm doing it in history and international studies. So it's leading somewhere. The two other things that I would say about it before I hand it over to my colleagues is our liberal sciences, liberal arts and sciences model means relatively small classes taught by roster faculty with intensive reading, writing, and discussion. So man, you know your faculty and you're working on things. And also, if you can imagine, this is a problem right here, this big circle. What we're doing is teaching you how to attack that problem from multiple angles, interdisciplinary angles. When you attack a problem from more than one angle, you're much more likely to solve them. And as I'm sure you probably noticed, we have some big problems out there. So really, it is designed to help you figure out what you want to do, identify the problems you want to address, and help you get there.
Amazing, thank you. Dr. Greenberg, would you like to add to this?
Sure. I would say, as Dr. Ganaway finished by saying, that the breadth that a liberal arts education brings you is critical. As you, whatever you do when you leave college, you're probably not going to be doing it for one thing for the rest of your career. You're going to be doing many different things, and you'll need different tools, different backgrounds, different aspects of knowledge to draw on. And you never quite know what it is you're going to need. So take my field of psychology. You know, you might be interested in mental health issues, in addressing the many mental health problems out there in the world. Well, guess what? You can learn about that in the Department of Psychology. But it might be good for you to learn something about political science as well, because a lot of these problems would have solutions that would have to handle through a political process. Biology is important because a lot of these conditions have underlying biological causes or chemical causes. You'll need some sociology, maybe. You'll need some literature. You'll need all of these different things blend together, and you can draw on all of them in whatever path you choose in life. And I'm going to sound like my own father when I say this, and students, I might sound like your father, but you know, you never know what you're going to need, and you might as well get broad preparation because, you know, you'll draw on that education in some way you don't expect one day in the future. It's true of me. I'm here, I'm a department chair, and I'm using mathematical and other skills when I look at my budget or I plot out enrollment that I never thought I would use. But I use them, and I have the tools, and I know how to use them, and I have the education to do so because I got a liberal arts education.
Excellent, thank you. Dr. Van Delden, can you chime in?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Lee, for giving me a chance to also chime in. You know, I've worked at a couple other universities, and this is really the first university I've worked at that's a historically liberal arts university with broad-based liberal arts education. And from the STEM point of view, I never really give it much thought, but just over the last few weeks, we've had the CEO of Volvo, the CEO of Mercedes, the CEO of Siemens, and the CEO of Michelin on campus to recruit our STEM students, particular STEM engineering students. And one of the CEOs said a great quote which stuck to me. She said, "If every tool in your toolbox is a hammer, then every problem looks like a nail." And the meaning, of course, is that when we produce engineers, computer science, STEM students, any of our majors, that broad-based liberal arts education enables you to tackle a problem, an engineering problem or whatever kind of problem, while considering those global, ethical, and cultural impacts of the problems you're trying to solve. So our students will be uniquely different than many other students out there, and that will enable you to get those great jobs at those top companies I just mentioned.
Thank you. Next question is, how do you intentionally build connections with your students? Dr. France, can you contribute to this question.
I assume I'm unmuted, right? I'm not.
Yes.
Okay.
We can hear
great.
you. Thank you.
So I think about this as kind of building relationality with students, and not only with students, but with everybody I meet. That is a practice that I put into place. So that is about making points of connections with folks, using my experience with students, to connect to some of their concerns and some of their problems, and trying to demonstrate our humanity, right? And it's our humanity that connects us, right, as human beings. And I try to say to them, look, I didn't arrive in life as a professor, right? I had struggles and I had tribulations and I had moments of joy. Right. So I use those experiences, hopefully, in terms of connecting with them to show them, right, in terms of how they can work through some of their issues and some of their problems. And I think the students really appreciate that, so that they can see that they're, some of these things that they are confronting and coming face to face with, right? These are things that a lot of us as grown-ups have had to face, and they can be overcome.
It's amazing. Thank you. Dr. James, can you add?
I think Dr. France read my notepad. So that was so beautifully done. So I have nothing else to add. But again, I share the same sentiments, building that connection, showing students that you're human, trying to help them through some of the problems that they face. Again, we didn't always have, our, education status and attainment. We were just like you at one point. And so it's always a great thing to remember that we all are human. We all have similar problems and we can connect on some level.
Very true. Thank you so much. Speaking of building connections with students, do the faculty support and nurture students' mental health? How so? Dr. Greenberg, what are your thoughts?
As the chair of the Department of Psychology, this is pretty much right in my wheelhouse, although I'm not actually a clinician and many of my colleagues aren't either. We still think about these issues all the time. And I was just talking with a student earlier today who was interested in mental health outreach and the like. So there's a variety of ways. One is to say up front, if you're struggling, if you're having trouble, there are resources for you. That's something that I relay to students in the weekly emails I send out to majors. That's something that we bring up in our classes all the time, that there are these resources and there is help available, particularly on a short term. The second aspect is sort of as Dr. France and Dr. James were saying, to realize that you're not alone. You're not the only one struggling with this. It's a time when a lot of people, not everybody struggle, but it's a time when people do. And, it's not weird. It's not shameful. It's not bad. It is what it is. And there's ways to help. Another aspect is that in a lot of our classes, at least within psychology, we teach about these issues. So I was talking with a student today and saying, really, there are things that students themselves can do to care for themselves, to empower themselves, to help. And if you'll permit me, I'll tell you what they are, because it doesn't hurt to tell more people. Regular exercise always helps. Healthy exercise always helps. Regular sleep to the extent possible. Healthy eating, taking a break and getting outside into the sunshine. One of the great joys of being in Charleston is you can do that in November, you can do that in February, and even December and January. You can go out and get some sun. It's super important. And as instructors, while we're not the students' parents, we do keep an eye out. And if I feel that a student is really struggling or seems to be having some trouble, I can let the folks over in the Dean of Students office know, and they can go and check. That's not a punishment. That is not, nobody gets in trouble. It's just my way of saying, hey, could you go check on this person? It's something that at least folks in my department and increasingly across campus are very aware of, and something that I at least think about a lot.
Thank you. I think that's a big part of being part of the College of Charleston family, is supporting each other in these ways. Dr. James, what would you like to add to this?
Yeah, so I try my best to give practical solutions. So, for example, I had a young lady in my office who was taking 18 hours this semester. She was really stressed out. And so we discussed, maybe reducing her workload. Because here's the thing, and as Dr. Greenberg stated, like, there are things that students can do to help improve their mental health. So here's the thing, like, we have to make sure that we empower the students to, take control. And so, one of the things I told her, I said, look, college is a time for you to learn who you are. And you won't be able to do that by stressing yourself out, taking 18 hours, having panic attacks every week. So I said, why don't we reduce your course load so you can start focusing on some of those things that do make you happy, such as, maybe going out for a walk or spending time with your friends. And so I think that's really important to help students understand that, yes, your primary responsibility here is your academic process, but you also need to take care of you, because if you're not doing well mentally, nothing will work out. And so I always try to encourage my students to focus on their mental health, to focus on things that make them happy, along with their academic performance.
And if I could just follow up really quickly, I completely agree. I say to my students when they come in, because as a chair, some of them who are really having trouble will come in, college is important. It deserves your full attention. It's your education. It is not the end of the world. It is not the be all and the end all of everything. It is not, the only thing you are doing in life. And my colleagues and I tend to set up our classes so that there's a lot of what we call lower stakes assignments with that, where it's not like one test that's going to blow up your grade. Some people do that, but not generally. So, I'll have students who come in after bombing the first quiz in intro or something like that, going, oh my God, what am I going to do? I got an F. I never got an F before. Okay. It's one quiz. We have 12 quizzes in the semester. They're worth 10% of your grade. So you do the arithmetic, and it's not the end of the world here. Do better on the next one. It's okay. You'll learn. That's what you're here to do.
Very true. Thank you so much. So we'll move back to some of the academic side of the college experience. How do you promote research and experiential learning in and outside of the classroom? Dr. Ganaway.
Hi, everyone. So I think first I want to talk about inside the classroom. Of course, I do most of my work with and teaching of students in the Honors College. And all I want to say about that is the curriculum has a research component built into it, actually 9 credit hours. So that's 3 courses. Now, however, what I want to say is every major on campus has this opportunity as well. So you don't need to be in honors to have research opportunities. Actually, what I would like to transition to now is the second part of this question, which is the experiential or high impact learning. And what I was going to say is, students, did you know that this is an undergraduate first institution? So if you come here, you get to do research with the professors. So I'm looking at Professor DeLauro right now, and we'll do some mandatory Professor DeLauro embarrassment. I can't even remember how many individual enrollment forms I have signed for her for all the bachelor's essays, internships, and independent studies that she has led, just leading people to the promised land. I mean, expanding their networks. That's really what I want to talk about that we have to offer here. Now, the pandemic has torpedoed us, but it's opening up again. Did you know something like 40% of College of Charleston students study abroad for some period of time? It's just stunning. It's Georgetown. Now, students, when I was your age, I could have told you what an internship was, but I certainly never had one. Over half of the honor students are doing internships now. I'm looking at Professor France. I'm actually looking at Professor Greenberg as well. They've led so many of these for the honor students. And you know what happens is the internship leads to the first job. And then the first job, which you may not be thrilled about, leads to the second job, which is the good job. That's sort of the trajectory So that's built in and it's waiting for you here. So we really have a lot to offer.
Very true. I would completely agree with everything you just said. Thank you. What about you, Professor Greenberg?
Every time I talk to prospective students, I say, if I could, I would make every single one of you do three things: study abroad, pursue an internship, and pursue a research experience. I understand that not everyone can fit it in, but they're so important. For most of psychology or any other field, an internship, a volunteer experience, something where you're working in the field is going to be the best thing you can do for yourself, both for grad school admissions, for jobs, whatever. In the field of mental health, if you pursue an internship somewhere, you will learn very quickly if that's in fact what you want to do. It'll take you a couple weeks and you'll know, yep, this is it, or oh no. Sometimes it'll take you a couple days, but usually you'll learn very quickly. Research experiences, as Dr. Ganaway said, we are here for undergrads. We regularly involve students in research. We have at the moment about 20 bachelor's essays, senior theses within the department. That's low because of COVID. It's usually more like 25 or 30. People are doing a lot of these. MUSC as well is right down the road. It's about a quarter mile, a short walk. And we regularly place students at labs down there. Many of our graduates' first jobs is in a lab down there, which then helps them get on to another career or grad school or whatever it might be. I could go on for this for a very long time. If you want to know more about possibilities in psychology, send me an email and I'll be happy to tell you much more about it. But we are always telling our students, think about those options. I'm constantly sending out opportunities to our majors and minors.
Thank you so much. And just as an added note for any out-of-state attendees tonight, MUSC is the Medical University of South Carolina, and we are fortunate enough to have our campus and their campus located truly just down the street from each other. Our students can walk, ride their bike, ride their skateboard over to shadow a mentor or for an internship or even volunteer work. So that's a really great tie-in and great extended opportunity for our undergraduate students here. So I'll move on to our next question on that note. Do you use, I'm sorry, I think, are we on the right slide? I just want to make sure I have my questions in the correct order. Do you use, thank you, particular projects and assignments in which students directly apply what they've learned in course discussions of topics? And what are some of your examples, some of your favorite examples? Dr. Greenberg, I'm going to toss it back to you.
Cool. I get to talk more about research and experiential learning and internships. Yes, we have lab classes as part of our major where students are applying everything that they have learned in their classes, in their stats classes, in their research methods classes, in their core courses, in everything to design, pilot, revise, run, and write up 2 experiments within the course of a semester. And the students come up with a wide variety of things. Similarly, the bachelor's essays that I mentioned before are great projects where, again, students are drawing on all of the knowledge that they've learned so far. In our courses on mental health, students can bring in examples from their internships, their volunteer experiences to say, hey, I didn't realize what you meant about Alzheimer's or depression or whatever, but now I do. And let me tell you how it looked to me and what the challenges I see with this situation are, and all of the complexities that go beyond, anything that was, in the textbook or whatever. So, yeah, it's constant, particularly in our upper level classes, of making students go out and engage with whatever material it is they're studying.
Thank you so much. Dean Van Delden, what would you like to add?
Yeah, I have a few examples. One of my favorites from a capstone course I taught. We're teaching like the computer science stuff and engineering stuff, and then we applied it to Mercedes through our capstone course when we created a plant visualization tool for Mercedes to make the Sprinter vans here in Charleston, where the technicians on the factory floor could visualize where anything with IP address was going down on the floor, so they could quickly run to that location and get it back up and running. But some other examples from across my school. Just recently, I sat in a class where it was physics class, and they were studying frictions and forces and dynamics and things like that. And the students were using electron microscope to contemporary issue, right, to look at different types of mass, right, the N95 mass, cloth mass, and then the disposable mass to study how the air flows through the particles and the friction it creates, the fibers through the frictions, which makes your face heat up in different ways. It was super interesting. In chemistry, we have an analytical chemistry class where they teach you the analytical chemistry stuff, and then you apply it out in the field here on a preserve that we own 1,000 acres of land. And then you go to Costa Rica or Ecuador, and next summer is in Ecuador, to apply those analytical chemistry things to water pollution out in the various local governments and municipalities. Biology is the biggest major at college, as Dr. Greenberg mentioned. The Medical University of South Carolina is 3 blocks away. It provides a lot of opportunities. One specific example is here at College Charleston. We have an EMS program run by our students here on campus. You become a licensed EMT and you ride on the ambulance. It's completely student run, and we take about 400 calls a year where you're getting hands-on medical training through that program. So lots of examples. I can go on and on, but I'll stop there. Lee, I think you're muted.
Thank you. My turn for technical difficulties. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Okay, so how is the college's commitment to diversity and inclusion demonstrated in the classroom? Professor Ganaway, would you like to?
Yeah, hi again, everyone. I also think I want to try to zero in on this one, and I'm going to try to do it this way. Over the last 2 years, we've gotten new leadership at the top of our institution, and they really are committed to making the College of Charleston a place that looks like the state of South Carolina and the United States more broadly. So that's really big. If I zero down a little bit more, I'm getting closer to the class. So I'm in the honors college, and we have to give assessment measures to the provost every year so she knows what we're doing. You usually have 2 or 3 of these. One of ours now is a diversity measure. So we're measuring ourselves on that. Now, what do we mean by diversity? Well, we mean, of course, that we want our program to look like South Carolina, the United States. But mostly what we mean is this needs to be a nurturing place for people from diverse backgrounds. Whoever you are, you can come here and succeed. There is a place for you in our community. Okay. Now, if I can narrow it right down to the level of the actual classes, of course, we're working with the faculty in terms of making sure that from a pedagogical standpoint, they're not only accommodating diverse learning styles, which is important, but they are engaging with diverse perspectives. This gets back to the liberal arts and science model. The problems are complex. The more people you involve and ask to solve them, the more likely you're going to have a good outcome. So that is sort of our approach. I regret to say that in South Carolina, we have not always been welcoming of people who are different. But we do believe that everybody has a place here, and that's what we're trying to accomplish, students.
Thank you so much. Dr. France, what can you add to this question?
So I think in terms of going off of Brian, the whole idea, I think in political science, there's a commitment to ensuring that everyone feels a sense of belonging in the classroom. And just like many schools across the country, and as Brian pointed out, even in honors, we're committed to not just including material from structurally marginalized groups, right? Those people who have not traditionally had their voices heard, right? Those people who've had their voices silenced. So it's not just about including folks into the curriculum, but also folks who challenge, right? Who address and challenge, right? A lot of the structural inequality that we face in our society today.
Great. Thank you. Valuable. Dr. DeLaurel, can you add to this?
Well, hello, everyone. I think my colleagues have laid it out beautifully. I think it's important to remind ourselves that the college has made, as Brian was alluding to, a commitment to diversity, and it's not just in words. And we all are required to take diversity training. We are including it in our measures, departmental and school. And I think that that commitment from and support, because you have to be supported in trying to do these kinds of things. And that commitment and support has helped all of us, I think, work towards a more diverse college. And I can say that I've been at the college since 2004, and I can personally see in my classroom increased diversity. And that makes me feel good. That improves everybody's educational experience because you're being subjected to what the world looks like, the world that you're going to face, right? The world you're going to live with and deal with. So it's been good for the students. It's been good for the faculty. You can just look at the great bunch of diverse folks you have here on this panel. It's going to be good for education going forward. And I really think the commitment that the college has made to it, and once again, the support, is going to help all of us bring it more and more into the classroom, and everyone will benefit from that.
Thank you. Do students in your programs participate in any CofC's international study programs? We've touched on this already tonight, so look forward to hearing your responses. What are examples of locations, types of specific programs, and courses studied related to your fields? Dr. Greenberg, can you lead us off with this one?
Sure. So obviously COVID has thrown a wrench into a lot of these, but we are working on getting back up to speed. As Dr. Ganaway said, a lot of our students study abroad, and as I mentioned before, I recommend it whenever I can. I couldn't possibly do justice to all of the study abroad programs we have at the college. There are so many, but I can tell you about a number that involve psych courses. And the advantage of that for psych majors and for other majors is that it gives you a way to keep making progress, keep learning in your major field while still studying abroad elsewhere. Many of these are in the summer, but we also have ones that are in regular semesters. So for example, there's a program in London where you take courses on the psychology and policy of substance abuse. So part of the course is learning about substance abuse disorders and factors that alleviate substance abuse disorder or make them worse. But the other part of it is learning about how those two countries, the US and the UK, approach substance abuse. In the US, we've historically had a punitive model. In the UK, it's a bit different, and neither is perfect. And they both have advantages and disadvantages. We've had a program in Germany, several cities in Germany that we run every other year, where students have the opportunity to do a summer research project in neuroscience. So you have both a study abroad program and an experiential learning opportunity by going and actually doing research with some skilled folks in Germany who are interested in working with undergrads. We are launching a program in Florence, Italy, that's about working with children with critical illnesses. It's an intense program, but it's a wonderful program. And we have had opportunities to study in 2 different pairs of courses. So there's a program in Cambodia and Vietnam and a program in Rwanda and Uganda. And what you're learning in both of those places is you're taking coursework sometimes in political science, but also in the psychology of war, of social change, of conflict. Both of those pairs of countries have been through tremendous strife in the last half century and largely, not entirely, come through it. And so you're talking with these folks about, you know, why did they put down the guns? Why did they stop hurting each other? Why did they stop the Civil War? Why did they stop the insurgency? Whatever. And the students who go on those programs say it's just transformative. It's very different from here. And it's knowledge that you can bring back to, Charleston, South Carolina, and maybe view our problems in a different light.
Thank you so much. Great response there. Dr. France, can you add to this?
Okay. So, I mean, Dan, for example, talked about one of the programs that's a joint program where we have a political science professor and a psychology professor, and they've done Cambodia and they've done Uganda. So we have also programs to Morocco and Spain, that the political, and I think also it's both in terms of you can take a French class and a political science class there. We also team up with the LACS program, the Latin American Caribbean Studies program, and we've got the study abroad to Cuba, to Chile, and Argentina also. And we have faculty who teach in the Trujillo program, which is in Spain, and different faculty across the campus will team up together in terms of teaching those programs. I think I've addressed the question.
I think so. Thank you so much. Dr. Ganaway.
Hi again, everyone. So that this is maybe more technical than you want, but as you heard from my colleagues, there are faculty programs led by CofC members. Those are direct programs. There are partnership programs. So parents, this is important for you. In a partner program, you just pay whatever you're paying here and your child goes there. So for example, we have one of those at Cairo in Egypt. So both of those first two are a complete wash in terms of cost. And then there are affiliate programs. And for affiliate programs, basically all of your CofC financial aid applies. We just look closely at those to make sure it's the right financial move. But essentially that's 300 or 400 programs between all those. We can get you everywhere, but basically Iraq, North Korea, and Bhutan. There's lots of places. Now, specifically places that I've been, so I do go with the honor students, and I'm just going to give you a couple. So several years ago, I went with a professor in Hispanic studies to Ghana, of all places, to have a class that was essentially on post-colonial democracy. I'm actually coming back from a meeting with students who were going to take degrees this summer, and they're going to take a class on democracy in the ancient world and in the modern world. And you probably know in the ancient world it plots, and it hasn't plots this time, so that's great. But it is sort of the contextualization of representative government. As Professor Greenberg said, study abroad is simply transformative. I was certainly never the same after spending a year in Germany. I'm embarrassed to admit this. In the 20th century, don't tell anybody it was that long ago. I think I was dodging the dinosaurs. It was so long ago. But it's really worth your while, students, if you can do it.
I got to say one quick thing because I was teaching about it today. If you want to learn a language, really learn a language, the immersive experience of being in another country is the way to do it. The one that comes to mind is Trujillo, that Dr. France mentioned. In that program, you're staying in a small city, large town, and you're staying with a family, and you will speak Spanish. You will speak Spanish, and you will learn it. And when you learn it that way, it doesn't really go away. It will stick with you. And I wish I had had the chance to do it. My French would be much better today, and I would love to have done it. So if you can, seize the moment.
Seize the moment, indeed. And there are just so many, as each of you have touched on, there are just so many study abroad opportunities here at the College of Charleston in every curriculum and every major. So that's a unique quality of our school, is that at some other campuses, study abroad opportunities are limited to specific areas of study, and that is definitely not the case here. So, bringing things back home, how does the college's location in the heart of Charleston support students within your school or department as part of their classwork, internships, and volunteer opportunities, and so on? Professor Van Delden, Dean Van Delden, can you take this one?
Absolutely, Lee. So, this is just a situation where we're just very fortunate. The College of Charleston is very fortunate to be smack dab in the middle of one of the fastest growing cities in America. Super diversified economy because of all the industry here in the area. So in my world, the engineering, the STEM fields, the computer science fields, over 500 tech companies in the area. We're the only city in the world that makes both planes and cars in the same city. Did you know that? Because Boeing makes the Dreamliners here, Mercedes makes the Sprinter vans, and the only place Volvos are made in America are right here in Charleston, not to mention Bosch and Cummins and a variety of other companies. So in the STEM fields, it's I can go on and on and on, but let's think about the other 5 schools at the College of Charleston. The School of the Arts is known here as the artistic heartbeat of Charleston. Do more performances in the city, whether it's arts, music, or theater, than any other organization. And that's saying something in a town that's so rich with the arts. The School of Education, the way the counties are in Charleston, they offer our education students opportunities to teach in urban, suburban, and rural settings, really preparing them well. They just had an excellent review by their CAPE accreditation. School of Business is the obvious one, right? If you're in the hospitality sector, logistics and transportation, we have the deepest port on the Eastern Seaboard right here in Charleston, and everything in between. In the languages, culture, and world affairs, believe it or not, Charleston is a super diverse state in terms of the international companies that have invested in Charleston, and through that and the hospitality sector, you have so many opportunities to apply the language skills you're learning. And then finally, our School of Humanities and Social Sciences. I mean, whether it's political science or culture or history, what better place to learn it than here in Charleston? In fact, I'll brag on my colleague, Dr. France. It was last week, I think it was, where she had a Representative James Clyburn right here on campus, came down to talk to our students just a few days after the big bill was negotiated. And, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, that was super cool. So, we have very, really high profile connections like that. That just gives you one of a kind opportunities.
Very good. Very nice plug for Charleston and our community as a whole, and the fact that we're located right in the heart of everything. Dr. DeLaurel, what can you add to that?
I don't know if I can add anything to Dean Van Gelden covering the world in his review of Charleston, but he's absolutely right. All of those opportunities are out there. We are very fortunate to be in almost a living laboratory in so many ways when it comes to architecture, history. There will soon open the African American Museum. There's so much here that is like a living laboratory for students that it's an embarrassment of riches. But to specifically answer the question as to classwork, internships, and volunteer opportunities, internships are the lifeblood of the business school for sure. And all of the corporations that Dean Van Gelden mentioned, the business school has internships there and multiple internships. The supply chain departments can't fill the number of internship requests they get because we are, in fact, in Charleston building a corridor. I-26 is going to become a corridor between the manufacturing facilities in the upstate and the distribution centers that are being built in the upper mid-state and the port. And the port has just been deepened. The port is going to be probably a significant key player in international business and trade. And Charleston is just sitting there right in the middle of all of that. And the opportunities for our students are incredible. And we also are just a world-class city that attracts so many people and so many significant players. We just had a couple of PGA tournaments here in town, and multiple internships for our business students, multiple. And they're life-changing experiences. They might, as Dr. Greenberg alluded to earlier, they might, and Dr. Ganaway, they might be that nexus to a career path, if that's your focus. So with Spoleto and the potential art opportunities for people, it's just, I can't say enough for what Charleston brings to the table. It's more than we could possibly ask for, and it really impacts the student experience and the classroom.
I couldn't agree more. My favorite phrase out of everything you just said is we are in a situation where we have an embarrassment of riches. I think that is so true. Pardon me. Dr. France, would you like to contribute to this question?
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Sebastian, for that great plug for political science. I think the one thing that I would touch on is the internship part. Political science, within political science, we also host a pre-law program, and one of a very attractive internship for a lot of students is working with the public defender's office and also working with the solicitor's office. So that is just to give you an example of the kinds of internships the students, especially with the pre-law track, are often attracted to.
Thank you so much. How do you advise students who are considering double majors and minors? Dr. Greenberg.
There are really two pieces of advice. The first one is go for it. I believe very strongly that adding a minor, adding two minors, having a second major is a wonderful experience and a great benefit for many students. In my own field of psychology, a lot of students pursue minors, and I strongly recommend it. In fact, I'll add a fourth thing to the things I would require. I wouldn't actually, but I really want students to choose a minor, and here's why. There's a lot of psychology majors out there. As Dean Van Delden said that bio was the biggest major, we're only about 15 behind when I looked this morning. And adding a minor does a number of things for you. It gives you a little bit of experience in another area, and it gives you your resume and you an extra flair, a grace note, an accent, whatever you want to call it. I was a psychology major and a philosophy minor. I'm a different person than someone who is a psychology major and a physics minor, or a neuroscience minor, or a math minor, or a studio arts minor, or a comm minor, or whatever. And that extra set of skills that you get in a minor will very often, unlock a lot of doors, more than you would think. It really just, it helps in a lot of ways. Now, all that said, you really have to want to. So don't do it a double major just because or a major and a minor just because I said that, right? Do it because that's what you really want to do. That's where your passions lie. The second thing that you have to do is to sit down with me or with your advisor and plot out how everything is going to fit. Can you do it? Some of our majors are larger. If you're taking biochemistry, a second major will be a bit of a challenge, especially if it's an art or whatever. But there's often ways to do it. And if that's where your passions lie, go for it. If not, that's fine too. But it can be a great way to broaden your education, get documented experience in another field, and give yourself a little extra flair.
Thank you so much. Dr. Ganaway.
Hi, everyone. I actually don't have anything to add beyond what my colleagues did, and I know that Lee's got a couple more questions she's hoping us to get in, so I defer.
All right, Dr. James, would you like to add to this then?
Sure. The only thing I would add is try to take, if you're going to major, for example, if you major in psychology, I wouldn't advise you to minor in sociology. I would actually pick something completely different. That way you can kind of get a taste of, multiple things and try to figure out what you like the most. That would be my only piece of advice.
Good thought. Thank you. Our next question is, what are students surprised to find that they learn in your class? Dr. James.
Yes, so students are often surprised that learning is bi-directional here at the college and in my class in particular. I like to take a lot of knowledge from the students and use some of their previous experience and their personal experience and bring them to the classroom. I look at them as experts as well. So we learn from each other in my classroom. I think that's so important to really get students engaged in the content.
Thank you. Dr. Van Delden?
Yeah, I would say, especially that first semester, students that are a little bit surprised at the pace of college courses compared to high school courses. Things move a little bit faster. It's much more unstructured. You could have a course at 9 a.m. in the morning, another one at 1 p.m., another one at 3 p.m. So it's not like a simple block schedule like you're accustomed to in high school. You got a lot more freedom. Your transition to college, that first semester is a lot coming at you. I love to tell this to high school students, statistically speaking, no matter where you end up going to college, you are most likely to fail your very first semester. And it's not because the classes are hard per se, it's just because there's a lot coming at you that very first semester. Here at the college, we build a team of advisors around you that very first semester to help you be successful, because you get all of the A's and B's that first semester. Then, statistically speaking, you'll go on to graduate on time. And of course, that's what we want. And the other thing they're surprised about their first semester here is that if they go to the professors, our professors actually want to help you. So go to the office hours and they're surprised, like, wow, these folks actually want to help me succeed. And so that's what we're here for.
Thank you. What are some examples of recent student or alumni successes who you have taught? Dr. France.
Okay, so I have two that I'm really proud of. So I have one student who is now based in Bogota, Colombia, and is an award-winning documentary producer, and who was a political science major. And I also have one student who is at Ernst & Young, one of the top 4 accounting firms in the United States. And I think what these two students in particular speak to is how the diverse pathways that one can take after having a political science degree. So we have one who went off to be a documentary filmmaker in Latin America because they did a double major in political science and Latin American Caribbean studies. And then we have this other student who's at Ernst & Young and who attributes their strong, analytical skills and their research skills to the political science department. And, she always talks about it, what I learned, how I learned to read and to become analytical and to do research in political science has really allowed me to succeed and have a lot of mobility in Ernst & Young, where she's about to make partner in that company.
That's amazing. Thank you. Dr. Ganaway.
Hi, everyone. So I promise I'm paying attention here. To make sure I get my data right, I had my other screen up with some stuff on here. So I'm going to talk just for about 90 seconds about a program that I direct, and I like it because it's a liberal arts and science program. It's called the International Scholars, and all these students have one major in international study, so we make them do that. And then the second major is anything. Okay? So I have international studies, computer science, international studies, biochem, a ton of international studies, political science, by the way. So Professor France has a lot of these students. And the program's about 10 years old, and they've done some remarkable things. So remarkable things, graduate school. So students and parents, we have sent students to the Kennedy School at Harvard, to Yale School of Nursing, to the Public Health School at Columbia, not NYU, at Columbia. We have sent students to law school on full rides, which I didn't even know was possible until a couple of years ago, to the University of Virginia, the University of Michigan, Washington University in St. Louis, and the University of Florida. My one student who went to medical school just finished med school at the University of Florida, and how he's doing his residency at the University of Alabama, Birmingham. Okay, that's good. So we can get you to a top-ranked graduate school, no problem. Now, nationally competitive awards. You maybe heard of something like Fulbrights. So these students, there's only about 100 of them in the whole program. So 60 that have graduated, 40 that are in there. They've won 18 nationally competitive awards over the last 10 years. Some of you may have read in the Chronicle of Higher Ed that the College of Charleston is a top 5 producer of Fulbrights in the country. So we can get you those as well. And then, of course, now I'm looking at Dean Van Delden. I have students who have gone out into the workforce. So I have a student who is a computer science major who's now at Accenture. I have another student, I'm looking at Professor DeLauro, who got an internship, went to Manhattan, and then got hired by the Buffett Foundation. He of the Warren Buffett Foundation, and this individual now manages the Buffett Foundation's global health for women in the developing world. So grad school, nationally competitive awards, employment, we can get you from A to B. You should look at us.
Okay, that's all great. This could turn into a who has had the most student success stories if we're not careful here. But it's great to hear and fun to hear all of them. It's awesome. Great to have so many. Dr. James, would you like to add to this?
Yeah, so a program I run is called Call Me Mister. It's a program designed to recruit minority men to teach. And last year we had 2 of our graduates who were Teachers of the Year at their respective schools. So that's a huge accomplishment for us as a department and for the students as well.
That is great. Thank you so much for sharing that. Well, that wraps up our Q&A portion of the evening. I'm going to pass the mic, so to speak, back to Devin. And a big thank you to all of our faculty panelists for participating this evening. Devin, it's off to you.
Thank you, Lee. And again, just a big, huge thank you to our fantastic faculty who were on tonight. I hope you all who tuned in got a great sense of the familial environment that we have here at CofC in our classroom settings, the amazing opportunities that are offered to our students, no matter what pathway you choose to study and what route you hope to go after you cross the cistern yard. First and foremost, we are here for you. I just want to quickly remind you all, thank you again for joining, because this was the last virtual event in our fall event series. We'll certainly have some opportunities opening up here as we begin releasing admissions decisions in December. So if you are a senior who has applied or a transfer student who's applied, keep your eyes out for some upcoming opportunities for you to tune in and learn more about your next steps towards enrollment at the College of Charleston. With that, I just want to wish you all a wonderful evening. Have a great rest of your month. Take care. And if we can be of any assistance to you, always reach out to us in the Office of Admissions. Thank you. Have a good night.